Hey guys, I'm Richard, host of Omknitting's podcast. This is a podcast about knitting and being crafty with everything that I can imagine, but mostly it's about knitting because that's about all I do is knit. I don't paper mache, I don't scrapbook. I wish I could and I should, but I don't. Knitting takes up the majority of my crafty time. So today is the very first podcast. I want to just kind of delve right in and tell you a little about me. First of all, let me tell you where I can be found. I can be found as Omknitting64 on Ravelry. I can also be found as Omknitting on Instagram and on my YouTube channel, Omknitting64. I've also created a Gmail account for this, so if you want to get in touch with me, I would love to hear from you. I will do my best to answer the emails promptly. It will be omknitting64@gmail.com. omknitting64@gmail.com. So, let me tell you a little about me. I'm married to my wonderful husband of 17 years. This July the 7th will be 18 years old. I live in Florida. I share my home with my two little puppy dogs, though my little old man is 18 years old, so he's quite old, but he still gets around. They'll make their appearance here and there, but they're pretty quiet unless we have visitors, and then for some reason they just kind of you want to be a little vocal and yappy until they find out that they're just here for a while. They're not going to bother anybody. But they're very sweet babies and I love them, and so hopefully someday you'll see them. If they come out and about, I'll pop them in front of the camera and say here. Their names are Philip and Samantha. Knitting, I have been knitting approximately probably 17-18 years, though I did take a hiatus from knitting several years ago. I just kind of, I don't know I don't want to say burned out, because I'm definitely was not and have never been burned out with knitting. Let me say this, my knitting has not always been a happy occasion, and it should be, because I told you I was 52 years old. I grew up in the South, and that's another thing. Let's stop here and cut through the chase with this. So I have a very thick Southern accent. I know that. I was raised in the deep South. I left home when I was 17 and I moved up north. I didn't lose my Southern accent, and I still have it. We as Southerners kind of want to draw everything out, or we want to clump every word into one syllable. So I'm going to try to be conscious about that. Please forgive me if I get carried away and the really thick Southern accent comes out. I apologize for that, but I want to remain true to my roots, and I want to remain true to me. But with that being said, I also want to be able to communicate with other people. So sometimes my vernacular is not what it should be, but I digress with that. So as I said, I grew up in the 60s. I started knitting. My first remembrance of knitting was in the 7th grade. I had two teachers that crocheted. They did not knit, but they crocheted. Their names were Elizabeth Ann Riddle and May Blake Broyles. And I had such an affection and a fascination with wool and fiber. And I remember sitting in the classroom, and I would watch them once the lesson plans were given out, and we would start to do our work. The teachers would bring out their crochet. Now, this was in the 70s, so it was all right then. And I would just watch them and the rhythm of the needle or the hook that they were using. And I truly loved it. I fell in love with it there. So I asked my teacher one day, I said, can you show me how to crochet? And I guess at that time she was taken aback, I guess, but my love of wool and fiber started on that day, and it's always been there. Um, Back to my story. Let me stop rambling. So, my teacher bought me a crochet hook and a skein of acrylic yarn. I still remember that. I didn't care. I just wanted to learn to crochet or knit. I wanted something. I wanted my hands on the fiber itself. I remember taking it home, and my mom asked me, she said, "What is this?" And I said, "I'm going to learn to crochet, or I'm going to learn to knit." And she said, "I don't think so." And I said, "Why? I want to." So, we had this back and forth, and apparently she won out because she threatened me. She told me, she said, "You're a boy. You're not going to do this. You continue down this road, and I will tell your father." And I said, "Okay." So, but in the back of my mind, as a teenager, 12 years old, going into his teen years, I had a plan. So I went back to school. I saved my lunch money, and I had my teacher, Miss Riddle, to buy me another skein of yarn and a crochet hook, because I really didn't know about knitting needles at that time. She did. The very next day I went back to school. She called me up to the desk, and sure enough, there was my acrylic yarn and my crochet hook. I was so happy. I was so happy because my mom had destroyed the previous two. Look, I'm not ditching my mom. I look back now, I'm 52, and I think, rearing a child doesn't come with a guidebook or a book of rules and regulations. And she was doing what she thought was best. I'm assuming. I don't hold any ill will or any feelings toward her. But I wish things could have been different. But they were what they were at that time. I remember thinking, now, when I go home, I need to do something with this. I need to hide it. So I packed a book bag to school. They were the old square book bags with a handle, kind of like a briefcase, but made for kids. And it had cartoon characters on it. I think mine had, I don't know if you remember Goober and the Ghost Chasers, or either Hong Kong Phooey, which was cartoons that I watched when I was growing up. I think it had one of those on it. I think it was more Goober and the Ghost Chasers. Anyway, I stepped it down in the book bag, and I put my papers and my clipboard and everything in my book bag, and I came home, and I went into my bedroom, and I got to thinking, where can I hide this that she won't find this? So what I done was, we had a little space in the back of the bathroom closet, and my dad wore sport coats, some suit coats at that time, and some were outdated, and my mom hung on to those. Why? I don't know, but she did. And I thought, this is the perfect place. So I opened up one of the little boxes that she had in there, and I stuffed my yarn neatly and my crochet hook there, and I put the coats and everything back on top of it, and I thought, I think this will work. Anyway, my parents would go to bed. I would go to the bathroom, and I would dig out my yarn and my crochet hook, and I'd bring it back to my bedroom, and I would turn on the shade lamp, and I would, practice crocheting a chain and playing with it and looking at it and touching the fabric. And I'm a very tactile person. I love the feel of things. Linen being one of them. Linen is my default clothing. It is also my default bed linens. Linen all the way, no cotton, just pure linen. I love it. I adore it. So anyway, I would go back to school the next day, and the next day, and the next day, and my teacher would ask me, "So how's this coming along? Let me see your chain," or something. And some days I'd say, "I didn't practice last night," or this or that. But then I would go home and the lights would go out in the nighttime and my parents would go to bed, and then I would practice crocheting. And you know, I almost got away with it. Almost being the optimal word. I remember it was springtime, and in the South, Southern women, they do a lot of cleaning. I mean, my mom done a lot of cleaning, especially at springtime. And I remember, for people that's from the South that are going to watch this podcast, you will know what I'm about to say. From people up north, maybe you don't, maybe you do. But anyway, during the springtime, my mom would always, we had down pillows. They were goose down pillows. Actually, my grandmother raised geese, and my grandmother would pluck the feathers, the down feathers from the chest cavity of the geese. And this is what she made her pillows with, which obviously we had goose down pillows. And the feather bed, it would be like a box spring, and my grandma would have enough feathers that she would make this mattress out of goose down. Excuse me. Anyway, during the springtime, once a year, my mom would take everything to the front porch, the mattress, the goose down pillows, anything that she could possibly get out there and to, as she would say, to air them out and do all of this. And for some reason, it didn't cross my mind as a child that, okay, she's just going to spring clean. She's going to be inside the bathroom closet. She might find my yarn and my crochet hook. I went to school. I came home. Our school bus came in about probably around 3:15, 3:20. And I came in through the kitchen door, and my mom had was a bar in the center of the kitchen, and as soon as you opened the door, there was a refrigerator, and I took off my shoes, and the first thing that my eyes focused on was my yarn and my crochet hook, and it was laying on the bar waiting for me. My mother looked at me and she said, "What is this?" And she said, "I thought we had a talk about this and that you understood." And I said, "Mom, I do, but I don't see the harm in me learning, you know, this artistic value, or, but it just, no matter what I said or done, it was not going to fly with my mother." And she said, "I'm going to tell your father when he comes home from work." My father was a coal miner, and he got home around 4:30, 4:45, as best that I can remember. And I said, "Okay, do what you have to do." She said, "You know you're going to be punished for this." And I said, "I assume so." I do know that my father came, long story short is, he didn't like it. He was very upset. I had to watch yet another skein of yarn and a hook go in the trash can. So I kind of took a break from that point on. I didn't know what else to do. I was a kid. I was crushed. But, you know, what are you going to do? During high school, my last couple of years of high school, I started to crochet again. Now, I can't crochet any at all now. I thought, I really want something more. I seen a, I think it was a shawl that someone had knitted, and I fell in love with the texture of knitting. Crochet is a little more constructional. By that I mean it's a little more rough, and I don't mean to, I'm not ditching crocheters. I think crocheters have a part in the knitting community. It's fiber. It's just like knitting. If you enjoy crocheting, then that's what you should do, or maybe you should be versatile and do both. I don't have a problem with that, but I just knew that crocheting was not something that I wanted to do full time. So I took up knitting. Oh my goodness, you know, it was the acrylic yarn again. It was metal needles, and I'm talking about the old long metal needles. You know, you could just literally, you know, kill someone with this needle. It was so sharp and so long. It could do some damage. But anyway, that's where I started from. Now later on, let's move on. Later on in my adulthood, I took a knitting class in Richmond, Virginia, and I was just totally hooked. I loved everything about knitting. I absolutely, positively just adored it, and I've been knitting ever since. So with that being said, I do have a couple of FOs and whips that I will show you directly, but that's a little about me. That's how my knitting adventures started. They didn't start out so well, but they're ending up magnificent. So I really don't have any complaints at this point at all. So I would like to hear from you. I would like to hear a little bit how your knitting adventure started. Maybe your grandmother taught you, or maybe it was in your family all along, or you picked it up, or like me, you took a class. I would really like to hear from that. So let me show you a little acquisitions that I got. These two yarns will go with me. I didn't tell you, I travel a lot. I usually travel abroad twice a year. Last year in September, we were in Italy, Spain, and France. We were in Pompeii, Rome, Marseille, Barcelona, Sitges, several places. This year, our first trip is coming up next Wednesday. I will be traveling to Morocco. I will be traveling to Nice. I will be traveling to Monte Carlo. Leaving from here in Orlando, catching my flight at JFK. So I have a couple things that are on the needles, but they're blankets. I'm a big person about blankets. Another thing, I'm very OCD, so I usually operate in groups of threes. Excuse me. Just iced tea. That's another thing. I'm from the South, and I drink gallons of iced tea. With what I said was, I usually operate in groups of three, and I usually have 3 projects going. It's always going to be a blanket somewhere on the needles. Number 2, it's going to be a shawl. And number 3 will be something I'm not choosing. It may be an article, a garment, like a sweater, a cardigan, a jumper, or it may be 2 shawls. But that kind of is my thing. It's just kind of groups of 3s. So with that being said, I have 2 blankets that are on the needles. I really don't know how that happened, but they're there, and I'm working on them. Let me see. So anyway, back to why I'm sorry, I had to catch my train of thought. I wanted something to take with me that was more portable than a blanket. I don't want to be lugging a blanket knitting through the airport with my tattoos, and we'll talk more about them later, and my beard. Yeah, I still struggle a little bit going through security, but we'll talk about that later on. So, you know, I just didn't want to add any more fuel to the fire. So I found the pattern. It is called Match and Move. It's by Martina Beam Strickman, and this is the pattern. It's a shawl that I want to do. It's in 2 colorways. One is a solid color, and then one is like a self-striping, and I'm going to show them to you right now. So let's look. So this, let me see. This one is Yada, and I really like it. It's called Yada Yada Yada, and this will be my base color. This will be color number 1. If you've not seen or not familiar with the pattern, go to Ravelry, look and see what it is. It's beautiful. It is, the construction is absolutely beautiful. I've done several of her patterns. Never had a complaint. I've enjoyed doing they're well written. They're well laid out. The schematics are wonderful, and I just move on from there. Now this yarn is Woolamize. I've never used it. I've always wanted to use it, and my local yarn store, which is a Good Yarn in Sarasota, had started carrying it. I was so happy. I was so happy to see that. So this one will be the base color, and this one is called Jacuzzi. So you can't get any better than that. Jacuzzi, yada, 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 yada. Look at this. Isn't this beautiful? Let me turn it this way. Look at the grays and the blues and the blacks. Oh, it's going to be so pretty. So let me show you these together. Aren't these beautiful? Look at these. Just absolutely gorgeous. So these will be the two colors that I will use in my match and move. Another thing, I always name my I always name my shawls or any article that I'm working on, any project. I know she is match and move. I don't know what I'll name this yet, but I'll come up with another name. So let me show you. Let's bounce back and forth. So this will be my travel project. This is a shawl that I just completed, and it's another shawl by Martina Beam from Strickman. I don't really know how to pronounce it unless it's, I've heard people say it's Vingetti or the Vigents. I'm not for sure. I like Vigents better than I do Vingetti. But this is done in silk, and it's by Zen Yarn Company in their silk base, and I absolutely love it. Look how pretty it is. Absolutely gorgeous, 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 gorgeous. Okay, so let me tell you a little bit about the construction of this shawl. I want you to see the lace panel. I love the lace panel. So without giving any secret sauce away, without anything, I like the construction because you start out knitting flat. I won't tell you how many rows, but then it is joined in the round, and then everything is knitted in the round. And if you see the construction in the back, see? Look at the spine. Isn't the spine beautiful? I love, love the spine of this. And this, it slips over your head, it turns down. You can wear it to the front or you can wear it to the back. So this is one. Number two is my pattern. Not written yet. I have it in my notes and stuff, but this is something that I wanted to do. It's called the Broken Stained Glass Shawl. It is 100% superwash merino wool. I'm thinking of the name Dragonfly Fibers in their Pixie base, and then this, I can't remember. It's on the tip of my tongue, but I can't tell you right now. It is it's not Blue Moon Fiber Arts. I don't want to say that. It will come to me directly. But anyway, this is my Broken Stained Glass Shawl. Let's turn it this way. And this side has garter bands, as you can see. And then this side starts the broken. Let me see. I don't want to spill my tea. So anyway, this is it. Isn't it beautiful? There, it's much better. So it's followed by broken bands, and you can see I staggered the stitches so they would remain broken, the top ones that are followed by the bottom ones. And I love this shawl. It's so soft and so light. I probably will take this with me. Yes, as we start traveling. Now, those are the two. I have a lot of FOs, but I'm not going to bore you with every one of them. Eventually, I'll get them shown to you a little bit at a time. So, let me show you this. I've been working on this quite a while. this is a Stephen West pattern. I started this, I had knee surgery a year or so ago. I had a torn meniscus, and I started it then, and then we got to traveling once I was healed, and we kept moving on, and it kind of got pushed back. So this has not been in a timeout corner, but this has been in the languishing basket of UFOs. But I love it. It's beautiful. I am on the lace section, so there's like several more repeats of the lace section, and then I'll start the garter border. And it's a blanket. It's called Old Forge, and it's by Stephen West. Look at this. Isn't it gorgeous? It's followed by bands of garter and stocking knit and lace. And I love the spiral in the middle. And this will be blocked out. You know, that's one of my favorite sayings with knitting. That shit'll block right out. That's another thing. Excuse me, I have a potty mouth sometimes. I will try my best to watch it on here. But anyway, look at this. There's the lace section. Garter border, and I just don't want anything to come off the needles. There we go. So I know it looks like it's hard to get a good picture because it's in the round. It looks like just a big hat right now, but trust me, it's not. So the yarn that I chose for that was, I could not find, I wanted to stay true to the pattern, but I couldn't find the colors that I wanted in Tosh, and Tosh is my go-to yarn. I love Tosh Vintage, Tosh sock yarn. I just love it. It's something that I love dearly. It's my go-to workhorse yarn. I couldn't find the colors because in his pattern the colors were gray and orange, as you've seen this, or more of a taupe and orange. So I ordered this from Knit Picks. And that's what I'm using in that. It's a superwash wool. It's a little toothy, and you know what? I'm fine with toothy stuff, wool. I love my soft cashmere, my soft Tosh, but sometimes I like just a good wool that is toothy and that lets you know and brings you back to your roots from where wool started from. One more thing, this is my brioche blanket. I know some of you have probably seen pictures on Instagram, but it doesn't do it justice. And the black bands, they are Malabrigo in the Midnight colorway. And the brown bands, I can show you this because I kept the ball bands for that. Excuse me. So it's Woolstock in their colorway Gravel Road. Now let me tell you, with the Woolstock, I can feel the lanolin on my hands and I love it. And it's a little toothy, but I'm fine with that. I love it. This is another pattern that I am making up and designing as I go along. I started off with about, I think, 20 rows in the gray, which is by Rowan. And I don't know if Rowan has a name. It's pure wool. It is also toothy. I'm trying to see. I don't think this one has a name. I think it's just Rowan pure wool. It's in their worsted weight base, and I love it. Like I said, from time to time, I like a good toothy yarn, and these two are definitely giving me something to cut my teeth on because I really like it. So anyway, I did about 20 rows of garter, and then I maintained I think a 6-stitch border. I started directly in on the brioche and changed the colors and went to the black. I wanted a small garter band in between the black and the next color that's coming up, which will be the Rowan Worsted in their colorway. I think it's a number again. I wish they would. Nope, no color. Anyway, this is the blanket. I love the brioche. I do. It is my favorite knit stitch. Okay, so again, I think this will wind things up as an introduction. I hope that you have enjoyed this and that you will come back to see me. If you like it and you want to hear more, hit the like button in the bottom of the channel and subscribe to it. Let me know what you think. Please again send me feedback. I am Omknitting64 on Rav, and I'm Omknitting on Instagram. I am Omknitting64 here on the YouTube channel, and the email is omknitting64@gmail.com. Please send me some feedback. Let me know. I hope next time I won't be so scattered. I want to do a couple of vlog posts from as we're traveling, so look for that. I'm going to be gone close to 20 days, which is the pretty norm for us on when we travel abroad. So I hope to see you again. Again, let me know what you think. Love you guys. Have a happy day, a wonderful night, and have a fabulous, wonderful weekend. Namaste, dear friends. Stay safe. Bye.